पाहि जगज्जननी परमेश्वरी जगज्जननी जय 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 हे साई जननी जय 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 हे साई जगज्जननी
महावीर येसु साई बुद्ध महावीर येसु साई बुद्ध महावीर अति सुन्दरा घन घन नीलवदना अति सुन्दरा घन घन नीलवदना अति सुन्दरा घन घन नीलवदना अति सुन्दरा मेघ श्यामला माधव मुरहरा श्यामला माधव मुरहरा मेघ श्यामला माधव मुरहरा श्यामला माधव मुरहरा घन घन नीलवदना अति सुन्दरा घन नीलवदना अति सुन्दरा मन्दस्मितमुखा राधा मनोहरा मन्दस्मितमुखा राधा मनोहरा मन्दस्मितमुखा राधा मनोहरा मन्दस्मितमुखा राधा मनोहरा गोविन्द गोपाल नटवर गिरिधरा गोविन्द गोपाल नटवर गिरिधरा गोविन्द गोपाल नटवर गिरिधरा गोविन्द गोपाल नटवर गिरिधरा मेघ श्यामला माधव मुरहरा श्यामला माधव मुरहरा मेघ श्यामला माधव मुरहरा श्यामला माधव मुरहरा मन्दस्मितमुखा राधा मनोहरा मन्दस्मितमुखा राधा मनोहरा गोविन्द गोपाल नटवर गिरिधरा गोविन्द गोपाल नटवर गिरिधरा मेघ श्यामला माधव मुरहरा श्यामला माधव मुरहरा मेघ श्यामला माधव मुरहरा श्यामला माधव मुरहरा घन नीलवदना अति सुन्दरा
ఓం శ్రీ సాయిరామ్. వసుదేవసుతం దేవం కంసచాణూరమర్దనం దేవకీ పరమానందం కృష్ణం వందే జగద్గురు. కృష్ణం వందే జగద్గురు. I offer my salutations to Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the vanquisher of Kamsa and Chanura, the embodiment of supreme bliss and the guru of the entire universe. Offering my humble salutation at the lotus feet of Swami, I take this opportunity to welcome you all, fellow seekers of truth, for the evening session of day 1 of the Gita Sarasarita. During the course of the Let's Learn Bhagavad Gita, Sadguru remarked that the essence of Bhagavad Gita is in the first 4 words of the first shloka of the first chapter. As we all learned this morning, the first 4 words are Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, which when rephrased become Kshetre Kshetre Dharmam Kuru, which means in every situation, conduct yourself in a dharmic manner. But how can we ensure that we consistently follow our dharma? Not just our swadharma, but also our atma dharma, or our highest duty. It is only through the acquisition of the right kind of knowledge, and without the proper understanding and knowledge of the highest truth, society is prone to engage in actions that may not be favorable or good in the long run, like the Mahabharata itself. That is why Sadguru takes personal care to curate and provide the right kind of education to all our institutions. This evening, we are very delighted to share that the World Education Summit 2023 held at New Delhi, the Sri Sathya Sai Lokaseva Gurukulam group of institution was recognized by its immense contribution in the field of education and was awarded in 2 categories. First, the Innovative School of the Year Outstanding School Award and the Leading School Chain National Category Outstanding School Award. A brief recap of this morning's proceedings, wherein we delved into the important shlokas of the first 2 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, followed by an insightful exploration of the relevance in the context of the modern times. We learned how the study of Gita helps us to overcome the fear of death and the significance of making informed decisions. Arjuna's Purvatapa and his readiness to embrace these teachings showcase his worthiness as a disciple to learn the profound wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And alongside Arjuna, we all are embarking on a transformative journey of self-discovery. The second chapter, Saankhya Yoga, explores the concept of the immortal soul, emphasizes the importance of performing one's duty without attachment to the fruits of action. It also teaches the importance of maintaining equanimity in the face of life's challenges. This chapter gave us an overview and a glimpse of all the concepts that will follow in the subsequent chapters. Now, we will have the shloka chanting of all the shlokas that we learned in the morning. Sai Ram.
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ प्रथमोऽध्यायः अर्जुन विषाद योगः। धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय। अर्जुन उवाच सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये रथं स्थापयमेच्युत यावदेतान्निरीक्षेऽहम् योद्धुकामानवस्थितान् कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे। दृष्ट्वेमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सुं समुपस्थितं सीदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति वेपथुश्च शरीरे मे रोमहर्षश्च जायते। निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि हित्वा स्वजनमाहवे न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च किन्नो राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन वा। एतान्न हन्तुमिच्छामि घ्नतोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य हेतोः किन्नु मही कृते। यद्यप्येतेन पश्यन्ति लोभोपहतचेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम्। कथन्न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुं कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन। कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्माः सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मोऽभिभवत्युत। अधर्माभिभवात् कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्णसङ्करः। यदि मामप्रतीकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धार्तराष्ट्रारणे हन्युः तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्। संजय उवाच एवमुक्त्वार्जुनः सङ्ख्ये रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः। ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे अर्जुनविषादयोगो नाम प्रथमोऽध्यायः। श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु। ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः साङ्ख्ययोगः। ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः साङ्ख्ययोगः। देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति। यं हि न व्यथयन्त्येते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभा समदुःखसुखं धीरं सोऽमृतत्वाय कल्पते। नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तः त्वनयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः। अन्तवन्त इमे देहा नित्यस्योक्ताः शरीरिणः अनाशिनो प्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत। वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि। नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः। जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि। आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवद्वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्। स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याद्धियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते। अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य चाकीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते। हतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम् जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः। सुखदुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि। नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्। कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भू मा ते संगोस्त्व कर्मणि योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि संगं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जया सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योः समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
On behalf of everyone, may I now pray to Sadguru to guide us further in this journey of enlightenment. May I now request our Chancellor, Shri B. N. Narasimhamurthy Sir, to address all of us.
Loving pranams at the feet of Sadguru, brothers and sisters and very dear students, boys and girls. 12 shlokas chosen out of 47 in the first chapter and 16 shlokas out of 72 in the second chapter. All of you have chanted just now. It was Bhagavan Sri Krishna who pushed Arjuna into a situation where he got deluded by attachment. As all of you know, out of the 47 shlokas in the first chapter, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, none of them is spoken by Krishna. In fact, we see Bhagavad Gita beginning with Dhritarashtra and ultimately ending with Sanjaya, last shloka, the 700th shloka. And it is Sanjaya who describes what is happening on the battlefield with respect to Arjuna. Arjuna asked Krishna, I want to see who are all arrayed on the opposite side. Please take the chariot and place it so that I can see who are all there on the other side, with all whom I have to fight. Now whether Bhagavad Gita should have been spoken, whether Arjuna should have been pushed into that kind of delusion, was in the hands of Krishna. This was said by Sadguru during the discourses, which is beautifully captured in the first volume, speaking about the first chapter. If Krishna wanted Arjuna to get enraged so that he will not ask any questions, he will directly take up his bow and start fighting, he could have taken the chariot and placed it in front of Duryodhana or Dushyasana or Karna. Suppose he has placed, because all of them were on the first row on the opposite side. Duryodhana, Dushyasana, Karna, all these people were in the first row. Suppose he had placed the chariot right in front of them, Arjuna would have definitely got enraged and got into battle immediately without asking any questions. Because he was humiliated by every one of them. And it was still there in his mind. In fact, Arjuna was the hero among the Pandavas who went and did penance for achieving special weapons as gift, as a boon from Ishvara, Shiva. And he had got that weapon, Pashupatastra, it was invincible. Therefore, there was no doubt he could vanquish the enemies. But Krishna wanted to create a situation wherein he wanted to give this nectar of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, thereby to whole of mankind. Therefore, he took the chariot and placed it right in front of Bhishma and Drona. See, Bhishma and Drona had a special affection for Arjuna. Arjuna also had. In fact, Arjuna was the most favorite disciple of Drona and very favorite grandson of Bhishma. On seeing them, he got deluded because of attachment to them. This is my grandfather who taught me how to hold the bow, how to wield the arrow. And this is Dronacharya, who is my teacher, who did everything for me. He taught everything he knew to me. And even he went to the extent of cheating somebody like Ekalavya for the sake of Arjuna. All of us know that story. Therefore, he got deluded because of the attachment. And then it happened that he got into confusion. He got into confusion, and he says, one of the shlokas which we just now chanted, that my body is shivering. I am not able to hold the bow. Bow is slipping out of my hands. I don't know what to do. And then there was logic given by Arjuna. The logic that how this war is very, very ruinsome for everyone. How it is going to ruin the whole of society. And also by killing my grandfather, Bhishma, and my guru, Drona, that blood-stained empire which I have to rule, it is absolutely useless for me. He said, I am ready to beg and earn my livelihood rather than fighting this battle, killing all these people who are mine. And therefore, then that is one situation. See, Sri Krishna and Arjuna, in fact, it is said that Arjuna was 85-year-old when this battle happened, and Krishna was a few years elder to him. They had lived together for so long. In fact, how the contact between Pandavas and Krishna starts is, once Kunti took the boys, 5 Pandavas, when they were boys, to Mathura, it seems. See, there was, between Arjuna and Krishna, there was the good chemistry. And they were swimming together, hunting together, playing together, pulling each other's legs. And later on, there was this connection, marriage connection also. Krishna's sister Subhadra got married to Arjuna. Therefore, they became very close. It's much more than that, because they are referred to as Nara and Narayana. The original Nara and Narayana, they are referred to as Nara and Narayana. And never even once Arjuna had asked something like this, and never even once Krishna had taught anything like that. In many decades of their relationship, this kind of philosophical dialogue never ever happened. But here, Arjuna, for the first time, he says, I don't know what to do. Kim kartavya sammudaha, he says, I don't know what to do. I have become your disciple, shishyasteham, he says, Shadimam prapannam, I have surrendered to you. Therefore, kindly guide me, teach me which direction I should take at this point of time. See, only when he said that, then only Krishna gave this nectar of the highest philosophy to Arjuna. And as Sadguru said yesterday, it is the most universally accepted scripture. cutting across countries, cutting across the professions, scientists, many scientists. Albert Einstein was a very great, not exactly fan, very great student of Bhagavad Gita. In fact, he said, when I study the Bhagavad Gita and contemplate on how God created this universe, anything else in this world becomes superfluous. That's what he said. Albert Einstein said that. And today we know that anybody asks which is the seat of highest learning in the whole world, naturally they speak of Harvard, which is 400-year-old university. And what a graduate of Harvard said 150 years ago. 150 years ago, there was a graduate from Harvard. He said this. Henry David Thoreau, he said this. He said, one line of the Gita is worth much more than the whole state of Massachusetts. That's what he says. One line of the Gita. There are 1,400 lines in the Bhagavad Gita. One line is worth more than the whole state of Massachusetts. This Massachusetts, the state, has the most famous Harvard University. It has the most famous MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the Boston University. And all put together, he says one line of Bhagavad Gita is much more. Means he discounted the kind of education he got 150 years ago in the Harvard University because nothing of this, the highest truths were taught. They were taught. Nothing was taught. That is why he said that. And Mahatma Gandhiji said, yes, it is my dearest scripture, but I consider it my mother. Whenever I am in doubt, whenever I am in confusion, whenever I am in grief, I go to the feet of Mother. In fact, he translated the Bhagavad Gita from Sanskrit into Gujarati and called it Gita Mata. He called it Gita Mata. It has been translated into Kannada also as Gita Mate. And he said, not even once I was disappointed. Whenever I felt confused, I went and I got clarity. I got answers to all my questions. And such a wonderful scripture, which cannot be called even nothing of religion in that. Absolutely nothing of religion. Pure spirituality, yoga psychology, you call it super psychology, parapsychology, even the greatest truths of life, the law of rebirth, law of action and reaction, karma and punarjanma, with the great authority of the Creator, Krishna talks about it. And the three important principles of Sanathana Dharma, that is the law of karma, the law of punarjanma, and the law of divine incarnation, avatara. All three. In fact, there is no scripture in the world which talks about the avatara, God coming down onto the earth. There is no other scripture, absolutely no other scripture. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna, in about 30 to 40 shlokas, it talks about himself. What is the principle of incarnation? When I come as a divine incarnation in the human form, how do I conduct myself? What are the secrets? All this is there. It is the most wonderful scripture. And also we have the most wonderful master in Sadguru. And every day, listening to him about this Bhagavad Gita and getting our doubts, questions clarified by him is the greatest boon, especially for the students. You have the whole life ahead. If you just understand what Sadguru tells us and follow and practice, we are redeemed. With these words, I conclude and pray to Sadguru for his instructions on the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Sara.
As we have just celebrated the convocation of the university, And the convocation's theme was Vande Guru Paramparam, that India's knowledge system has survived thousands of years of all kinds of changes, disturbances, invasions, attacks, and yet it remains today, and we can still read Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Vedas, and do so many of these rituals like the Mahalakshmi Homa that was done this morning. It's because of this great Guru Shishya Parampara of India. If Gurus had not taken upon themselves to love and care for the disciples who came from various parts of the country and never charged them a fee to ensure that everybody had access to education, and done everything in their might to take care of them and teach them. And also, if we did not have the befitting disciples who received this knowledge with great Shraddha, we would not have been the country that we are today. So it is to this Guru Shishya Parampara that we must bow down. That's why Vande Guru Paramparam. The shloka comes from, generally it's chanted in the Shankaracharya Matas, that Sadashiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. It all began with this Lord Shiva, who gave the first knowledge. And then Lord Shankaracharya, who took it further, and from there my Guru, who taught it to me. And therefore I bow down to all the Gurus who have continued this parampara, right from the divine Bhagavan himself, all the way till my latest Guru. I bow down to everybody in humility for this great parampara of Guru Shishya. If I can think of the Upanishadic Gurus, because Upanishads are taught by some rishis to their disciples, and most of the Upanishads are in question-answer format. That's our way of our country. The other day I was talking to a journalist, and she was here to conduct the education conference or leadership program, and she was telling the uniqueness of Sanatana Dharma is that you can ask questions, you can literally argue, debate, thrash it out as they say, and only if you get convinced should you accept Sanatana Dharma. This boldness of challenging is allowed in this great way of life called Sanatana Dharma. And I always say, through questioning, right kind of questions when we ask, we get the right kind of answers, and then right kind of knowledge happens. So questioning and then finding the right answers is the very fundamental way of learning and teaching in Guru Shishya Parampara. It is not new. In today's times, we have all those question banks, and we have this FAQs and things like that to make life and learning easy. But that was the most ancient pedagogy that Indian rishis had adopted. And that is how Guru Shishya Parampara has been founded on this questioning and answering as the very methodology of teaching and learning. Shishyas were allowed to question the Guru, and if they did not understand, they would argue, have a debate. And Vada Pravadatamaham, Sri Krishna says, I am the best of the debater. Amongst all the kinds of arguments, I am the debate. It was allowed. That does not mean you start debating with me for all and sundry things. Shishya will do his research, homework, will do contemplation, mananam. After that also is not able to understand and agree, and he will come to the Guru with lot of humility. Bhagavad Gita says, Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninam tattvadarshinaha, it says. How should you approach a Guru? Tadviddhi paripatena, having known what you want to learn from the Guru, not simply come unprepared without doing your homework and simply ask questions in the class. No. Prepare and come, pranipatena, and surrender. Patena means you just bow down to the Guru. Pranipatena means absolute surrender, sashtanga. With tana, mana, everything should be karma, vacha, manasa, you should surrender to Guru that I have come to learn from you. The humility should be there. Then pariprashnena, ask the right kind of questions. Prashnena means ask any questions. Pariprashnena, having thought over it, having tried to understand and then not found the answers, you should ask the Guru, you may please clarify my doubt, because you are the embodiment of knowledge. And I am confused, I am unable to understand it. I haven't been able to learn it. Pariprashnena. And how sevaya? Do some seva to Guru first. Simply walk in and ask questions is not the way. Come here, do some seva, win the grace of Guru. Then Guru will tell, okay, come at 6 o'clock in the evening to Premamrutham, I'll answer your questions. And then when you come here, you come prepared, you have done your homework for the day. You have gone through the shlokas, you have contemplated over it. And after having not found answers to some of the questions, you have come. So you have done tadvidhi paripatena, pariprashnena, sevaya, I am not sure, but okay. This is seva. So many of you are doing seva in some way or the other. I will accept that as the seva part of it. Then upadekshanti, then they will give you upadesha. Then they will give you advice, they will clarify your doubt. Jnanina, who the knower of the truth will tell you. Tattvadarshina, who are they? They are the knowers of the highest truth, tattva. Tattva means not some material thing, it is spiritual knowledge. So go to the Guru like that. And many other references are there, how to approach a Guru. Parikshalokan, karmachitan, brahmana nirvedam ayat, na asti kaschit krita akritena. All these things are there in Mundakopanishad. It comes that how to approach a Guru. He wants to learn things about the world, learn things about the spirituality or whatever. You must approach the Guru after having done enough of your work. Pariksha lokan, you have studied, have done some efforts, and then only you come to Guru. You don't come to Guru without putting effort, saying, anyways, Guru is going to teach me, very compassionate. Why do I have to worry about it? Let me go directly. No, you have to prepare and come. So because you all have prepared through the day and come, therefore we shall answer some questions. And Guru Shishya Parampara, the earlier best Guru and Shishya combination that I can think of is in Kathopanishad, which is of Lord Yama, the god of death, and Nachiketa, a teenager, who is wanting to learn the truth of what lies beyond death. What is the truth of birth and death? A very big question that is. And it is to the credit of Nachiketa that he revealed, or he got it revealed by Yama, just like Arjuna is getting Bhagavad Gita's rahasyas revealed by Sri Krishna for our sake. And there the mention comes. This knowledge is so subtle. It is not so simple that you speak and somebody gets it just like that. It doesn't come like that. He says, Shavanayapi bahubhi yona labhyaha. After having heard it in different ways also, what we cannot understand. Shunvantopi bahudha yamna vidyuhu. By different people in different ways we have heard it, still we cannot understand easily. This is very subtle knowledge. It requires some bit of preparation and readiness. And when does this knowledge transfer happen? Very well. He says, Ascharyo vakta kushlo asya labdha ascharyo jnata kushla anushishtaha. The knower of this knowledge should be a wonderful teacher. Not just he knows the knowledge, vakta, he should be able to articulate the knowledge, communicate the knowledge the way children or the disciple can understand. Ascharyo vakta, it is wondrous to listen to such a person. And kushala asya labdha, and the receiver of this knowledge also is very adept, very capable, because he is also very eager and also prepared himself or herself and come to learn the knowledge. And ascharyo jnata, the knower of this knowledge, is wonderful. And the one who receives this knowledge as a disciple also is wonderful. This is what was spoken by Kathopanishad Rishi about the combination of Yama and Nachiketa, that here is the combination of this great teacher and disciple. Teacher is wonderful, disciple is even more wonderful. And both of them have come together, and this beautiful knowledge transfer, this parampara, Guru parampara is happening. The next best Guru parampara I can think of is Krishna and Arjuna. Because Krishna's way of teaching is an example for all the teachers in all the schools and colleges. I always tell, it is very experiential learning for Arjuna. He's not just learning by rote or learning by theory. He's actually been pushed, as he said, into a situation where he has no choice but to learn and learn it right. That is how Krishna started the whole teaching and learning. And then Arjuna, being an eager disciple, he says, yes, I surrender to you. I surrender to you. Shadi mam tavam prapannam. I am offering same thing. Pranipatena, I am surrendering to you. I have no ego or no ideas of my own. I am just confused. I do not know this knowledge. I am here. I have thought about it, but I have thought it from my point of view, that my kith and kin, when they are killed, they will suffer. and what good it would do to me by having their blood on my hand. How can I enjoy this world on the tomb of my dear and near ones? Let me rather not fight this war, or even if I get killed, it's okay, he says. So Krishna is clarifying his doubts, and that's how we enter the second chapter of Saankhya Yoga, where this relationship starts between Krishna and Arjuna for the first time, as Narasimhaji said, not as cousins, not as friends, not as playmates, not as Bhava and whatever, Sambandhis, but first time as Guru Shishya, Shishyasteham. I am your Shishya, Krishna, teach me. And then Krishna opens his mouth, and you have already heard the discourse, so I am not going to repeat that. But Saankhya Yoga is the summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. There is a methodology in teaching. First you tell what you are going to tell, and then you tell what you have told. This is called tell methodology. So Sri Krishna is first going to tell what he is going to tell in the whole of Bhagavad Gita. That is the second chapter, starting from Saankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, and he takes us to the highest concepts of Sthita Prajna and things like that. He sorts everything out in the beginning. And then throughout the Bhagavad Gita, he actually elaborates on these concepts. And at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, the 18th chapter comes, which is the summary again of what has been told so far. So very methodically, very systematically, Bhagavad Gita has been designed, and therefore Krishna is a great teacher, and he has a lot of patience to listen to the questions of the disciple Arjuna. And many times he even repeats during Bhagavad Gita so that he is sure that Arjuna has got it right and takes feedback from him. So all these little things our teachers can learn. Question answer is a good way of learning and teaching, provided the teacher knows the subject and the disciple is very eager to learn and has done his homework and come. And then good knowledge transfer can happen. So this is the thing. Even in Nachiketa's case, 3 nights he stood outside Yama's house and thought about what he is going to ask Yama. So he had done his preparation, and therefore he could ask the right questions and not get deviated even when Yama tempts him with many other things instead of answering the question. So then Yama finally becomes happy. He says, I am happy I have a disciple like you. And out of that joy, he starts teaching Nachiketa. Otherwise, first chapter of Kathopanishad is also just dilly-dallying. Only the second chapter, when Nachiketa doesn't give up, that's when he said, Kathopanishad is another beautiful scripture we have already done in the last Paravidya. Hopefully a couple of years down the line, we can do it again. But for now, let's come back to Bhagavad Gita. So this is the idea. The second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Every shloka is important. We are learning a few shlokas for the paucity of time, but I insist that you, in your own free time as time passes, please practice and chant and learn Bhagavad Gita. A chapter will not take more than a few minutes to chant yourself. Just make it a habit to chant. And as you keep chanting, again, very beautiful way of learning teaching, sing song. You can chant with nice melodious tune. It gets inside. Very easy to learn. Sanskrit itself is beauty. The length of the sentences are same, so it is easy to remember. Suppose one sentence was small and the next was very long, like a prose, it is very difficult. And I thought, why Bhagavad Gita is called Gita, a song? It could have been Bhagavad something else, like, it's a Gadyam, it would be anything else. Why it is Gita? It's not Gadyam, it's not Padyam, it is Gita. Because I felt that the richest literature that one can have is a song. Ordinary literature is prose. A better literature is poem. And the best literature where you can convey a message is a song, which easily is understood, gets quickly, memorized and stays with us. Anything that is sung and told is very easy to understand and grasp it. That's why children are very quick to learn, nursery rhymes and things like that, which is all sing-song. So Bhagavad Gita is a song because it's the best literature that you can, best highest form of literature that might be possible. So these are all just some more inputs about Bhagavad Gita. Now I'll take whatever the questions you have.
Swami, it was Arjuna's surrender to Krishna which made him eligible to receive the Gita. Today, when everyone is motivated by selfish interests and personal satisfaction, How can this surrender be cultivated?
See, Arjuna's surrender came out of a sense of helplessness. He was also not somebody who was actually always surrendered. In fact, during the Bhagavad Gita also you'll see, many times he would revert back to his old habit of arguing with Krishna. But Krishna, being a patient teacher, as I said, is compassion personified. For the betterment of all, Krishna will nevertheless answer. So most of the people come to God out of helplessness only. Surrender happens much, much later. In Arjuna's case also, it is helplessness of Arjuna who is confused and who does not know what to do. That's why, because the situation is such where he is unable to handle that situation, he comes to Sri Krishna, like Draupadi later. Everything she tries to save herself, but when she is unable to do that, she finally says Krishna. So something like that you can think of. So surrender has not happened to Arjuna also just like that. He went through a lot of trauma, a lot of difficulties, and he found that it is beyond him. He surrendered. And that is how it happens in most of the people's cases. When they are left with no choice, when they can't handle life, there's nothing that they can do, they look for solace or refuge or relief or a solution from the divine. But I don't call it surrender. It is only out of helplessness. However, surrender is a very, very different quality. It is beyond the desha kala paristhiti. Whatever be the situation, whatever be the time and place, you always remain in the same state of surrender. That surrender comes to us only when we are in the company of those people who also are very surrendered. Otherwise, it's not easy to cultivate surrender just like that. When you see other people who also in the Sangha, in the company of people who live a very surrendered life, you watch them, you observe them, you get inspired, then you start cultivating that feeling of surrender. So it takes a long, long, long time and effort to develop surrender. Nevertheless, even in the case of helplessness, also turn to God only. Instead of turning to your friend, your uncle, your cousin, your in-laws, rather turn to God only. That is what is better way. But when you turn to God once, there is no second thought and there is no second argument. Then helplessness will turn into surrender. So it may start as helplessness, which is what the case is most the case. And Krishna says that's okay. All are okay. Chaturvidha bhajante mam janaha sukritino Arjuna. All are good people only who turn to me for whatever reason. But the one who turns to me because he surrendered a jnani, that state comes with difficulty, with lot of sadhana. And the best way to begin that, or to begin that sadhana, is to stay in the company of anybody whom you know has lived a life of surrender. It's very easy for you to pick up that quality from there. The other things that you can do is read about the stories of people who have surrendered, and through their surrender, how they have overcome difficulties or situations in life and led a peaceful, happy life. So read about those stories if you don't have people around you. That's why all this storytelling is so important. That's why all these Puranas are written. Gajendra Moksha is written. So also so many stories. All this is written to teach us that we can also surrender. But if you go back and deeply analyze, most of the surrender in the worldly level happens out of helplessness. However, spiritual surrender can be cultivated in the company of those who have mastered this, who have surrendered themselves to God, and listening to their stories, contemplating on them or being with them can help us also cultivate this quality of surrender.
Swami, many detractors say that Bhagavad Gita endorses war. How to counteract this with a lucid response?
They have not studied Bhagavad Gita properly. That's why they're saying Bhagavad Gita is a war manual. It's not true. Because Bhagavad Gita does not endorse war. Bhagavad Gita endorses dharma. And in the protagonist here is a Kshatriya. Therefore, Kshatriya's dharma is to fight for the right cause. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita somehow has got, dubbed as something that discusses war, encourages war. No, it encourages dharma only. Suppose the protagonists are not Arjuna. Let us say he was some Brahmana. And Brahmin was not able to take a decision or teach somebody as he was supposed to teach. What would be the story of Bhagavad Gita then? The line of thinking would be how to teach the student, how not to discriminate, how not to be partial, how one should be equal to all children. And so many other values we could have learned through Bhagavad Gita, which was taught to a teacher by Sri Krishna, let us say. Or if it was the Bhagavad Gita that was to be taught to a Vaishya, let us say, who was running a business, I'm sure the whole thing would have been different. There was no mention or no discussion of war over there. Again, it would have been a discussion of dharma only. What is the dharma? A Vaishya should run the business properly, should not cheat people, should not cut corners, should pay his taxes, should help the society, and the list will go on. So Bhagavad Gita has been taught to Kshatriya Arjuna, and therefore it looks like it is discussing war or encouraging war. No. Deep down, Bhagavad Gita is only encouraging dharma. And dharma is swadharma, just now it mentioned, the one who is established in swadharma and not affected by sorrows or sukha dukha is eligible. So amrutatva kalpate, such a person is eligible to attain immortality. So also if a Vaishya is doing his business with dharma and not being affected by sukha dukha, labha, such a Vaishya is capable of attaining amrutatva. So also a Kshudra, so also a Brahmana. Because Bhagavad Gita's story revolves around two warring tribes or cousins, and therefore it has been thought of like that. But it is not encouraging war, it is only encouraging dharma. Somebody who studies it correctly will understand it is right. Now this is what is the right answer. But okay, for the sake of those who argue, for the sake of arguing, no, there is a mention of war. We should have talked peace. Krishna should have told Arjuna, okay, let's go back, let's not fight and shed blood. And then Bhagavad Gita would have been more idealistic. Let me tell you, Krishna himself has said at some point in time, dandoham damyatasmi, or dandosmi damyataham, or something like that, which means amongst all the ways of bringing discipline, I am punishment, he says. So sama, dama, bheda, danda is there. 4 kinds of ways of bringing harmony, discipline and peace. First is sama, good talk, negotiation. Then dama, some give and take, some compromise there. Then danda, bheda, means create some dispute, divide and rule type of policy, which is again a not nice policy. If you mention that, again somebody will question, this is a bad policy being propagated. 4th is danda, punish, because no way you can correct these people, so what else we can do? That's what law and order courts and everybody does. So this war was not for the sake of winning a kingdom, becoming richer, becoming mightier or powerful like Alexander the Great wanted to be, or Hitler the so great wanted to be. This is nothing to do with that war. Or in the present times, I will not name, but whoever wants whatever to be done. So that war is different from this war. And Bhagavad Gita's war was about bringing harmony, peace and justice to the society. And because all the other methodologies had failed by then, good talk, peace talks had happened. Did it not happen? Sri Krishna himself went to tell them that please do not fight, do not have a war. All the Pandavas want is just 5 villages in lieu of their rightful access to the throne. They are okay with 5 villages, we won't have a war. But nothing worked. And that is the time when there was nothing left, so this is the final step left. It was not the first choice. War was not the first choice of Sri Krishna or Arjuna. War was the last choice after everything had failed and enough of injustice had been done. And look at the arrogance of Duryodhana. He tells Sri Krishna, don't teach me what is good, what is not. Janami dharmam, I know. Nachame pravritti, I don't follow dharma, that's not my habit. Janami adharmam. Nachame nivritti, I know what is wrong, but I cannot get rid of it. So he has decided to do wrong. When somebody decided to kill you, you have to defend yourself, right? No peace talks works over there. So Bhagavad Gita talks about a war after all the choices had been exploited. Second, Bhagavad Gita is actually not talking the war, it is talking the dharma, which needs to be done. So if a judge has to pronounce a verdict that this has to be a capital punishment, that is judge's dharma. He is not promoting capital punishment. But after trying everything else, when something is so very wrong that there is no other way it can be controlled, then whatever choice we need to make, we must make again from the point of view of what is good for everybody and what is my swadharma. So Arjuna being Kshatriya, his swadharma is to fight and reign in peace and justice, which is what Krishna is telling him. But as I said, if the protagonist was anybody else, like a businessman or a worker or a teacher, Bhagavad Gita would have taken that shade and shape accordingly.
Sadguru points out that we should be detached from the results of our actions, yet give our 100%. When do we know if whatever we have done is enough?
If you can't think of doing anything further, anything more, that's all you can do and that is enough. But if in your heart of hearts, I can do that also, could have done that also. I know it's a little more difficult, little more effort, little more discomfort, but no, I've done more than anybody else, whoever does whatever. With that feeling, if you go, then you have not done your 100%. How do you know how much you have eaten? You alone know how much you have eaten. How will I tell how much you have eaten? You know how much you are hungry or not hungry. Likewise, how much you have done, how much effort you have put in, you alone know. Because deep down, there should not be one iota of doubt or guilt left in you, saying that there is something more that could have been done or something could have been done differently, but out of lethargy, inertia, ego, name it, you did not do it, then you have not done it 100%. And this is something that every one of us knows deep down in our heart. So that is one. I always saying, how much good is good enough? Till you are God, whatever good you do is not enough. Till you behave like, or behave means you feel like God. In the sense, you are pure, you have overcome all your selfishness, overcome all your desires and attachments. Till you have reached that stage, any amount of good you do is not good enough, I tell you. So 100% is very internal thing. And I always tell some students, I say, those who get 40, if they get 60, next time, I like it. I say, you have improved, you have put effort. The one who gets 60 gets 80 next time. It's an effort that the person has put. But somebody who is capable of getting 100 says, anyway, the next person in my class gets only 60. So even if I get 65, I'll be the topper. See, his desire of just being the topper is not wrong desire. He could have done much more than his whatever he has done. So he has not done 100%. So you have to exert every nerve in your body. You have to exhaust every single thought and idea that you can ever think of doing. You have to make sure that every stone is turned to give your everything for the cause that you are working for. So, and how do you know you have not done it enough? You know it within. Nobody can tell you from outside. So your 100% cannot be her 100%, cannot be his 100%. We all have our own 100% based on our own internal compass, which tells us how much we have done. So listen to that within, that feeling within. Whether you feel that you have done everything in your mind, there is nothing more that you could have done, and therefore you are satisfied.
Swami, many times when we are given some responsibility, we become so involved in the work that we forget the bigger purpose. What should we do so that we do not lose sight of the bigger picture?
If you think you are doing the work, that's when all this confusion starts. If you are thinking, I am not doing the work in the very first place, being done through me by that divine, you will never deviate from this idea. Only time when we deviate from this is when our doership, our ego, it kind of overpowers our discrimination. But if all the time you are aware that this is all being done by the divine, I am just an instrument. Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin, Sri Krishna will tell Arjuna later. Once he convinces Arjuna that he has to fight the war, Arjuna is confused and sees all the Vishwarupa and everything, and then how do I do this? And he says, just be an instrument. The war is being fought by me only. Just be an instrument. Just be an executor of this, my divine will. Nothing more. I don't expect more than that from you. So if we are always reminded of this, that we are just the instruments of divine, this idea only will not come that my work has overpowered my thinking and I forgot who is doing, and therefore, no, so this idea has to be told. So every day we are chanting, what is that Atma Shatkam we are chanting? Are we contemplating on it is the question. Na, whatever, Mano, Buddhi, Chittanya, Hankara, Naham, none of these. This all happens by the divine only. And therefore I cannot take credit for it. Even yesterday I was talking to a group who had come from Dubai or somewhere. And they were telling about how do you, similar question, the divine does everything. We are just a witness and instrument. I said, yes, that is the best way of living our lives. But the only downside is that you can't take a whole lot of credit for all that you achieve in life. You have to be very humble and silent. When people praise you, you feel guilty. You feel like a thief who is stealing away credit of God. So you feel like that when you are really working for God as an instrument. So this ego does not come at all. So one, remind yourself, and sometime when you get carried away by all these things, I always tell you, your peace will get disturbed. Your equanimity will be lost. Your ego will cause ripples inside. That's when you know that you have deviated already, because you are not enjoying the work anymore. There is no joy in working. There is pressure, there is anxiety, there is tension, there is fear, there is anger, there is frustration. All these negative feelings are piling up inside you. You know that something you are doing wrong, or the way you are doing is wrong. That's when you have to sit down, take that 1 minute off, go to a quiet corner and and kind of center yourself. What am I doing? How am I doing? Is it the right way? Why am I feeling all these negative feelings within me? Then you know that you are doing it wrong because you've forgotten who is the doer in the first place. And then you go back, reset yourself, come back and start the work again. You will be better. So watch out. Keep observing how your mind is reacting to everything that you are experiencing. Anytime any negativity creeps in, you know something is wrong somewhere. And the first negativity that comes in when you do things thinking you are the doer, your responsibility and you are the reason why everything is happening, is your ego, which will lead to all negative qualities after that. So even if you have a lot of responsibility and you are super busy, yet you are equanimous, you don't feel anything negative, you only feel positive, that means you are doing it right. You have never forgotten who is the doer in the first place.
In Saankhya Yoga, Sadguru mentioned that actions can be controlled, but to control thoughts or intentions, paramdrishtva is required. Can Swami suggest an easier way to control one's thoughts, as the vision of the Supreme takes time, even though it's the permanent solution?
It's like the Sunday, Monday story. You give me a self-realization and I will get over all my sense cravings. But the Bhagavad Gita says you get self-realization, you will get rid of sense cravings. Or the other way, you start getting rid of your sense cravings and you will have self-realization at the end. So where do I begin? That is the question. Should I be bestowed upon by self-realization so that automatically all the desires disappear? Or should I start getting rid of desires one by one so that self-realization happens? This is the main question, isn't it? So the idea of this is that, see, we are already the self, that is the truth. We are unaware of it, isn't it? We are incapable of understanding and experiencing it at all the times. So what can we do about it? There is some bit of ignorance that is covering, avarana it is called. And that ignorance, that wheel of ignorance has to be removed. That's why we go to a guru, we start doing sadhana, we start learning how to overcome that ignorance and slowly get in touch with that divinity which is very much within us, which is not far away from us. And once we get in touch with that, paramdrishtva nivartate happens. We realize that. So the process for those who are not realized is naturally a sadhana. Sadhana path is there. That is what Bhagavad Gita is there. Bhakti yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, raja yoga, whatever yoga you choose, you follow that path and ultimately you will reach this paramdrishtva. You will reach the state where you see the highest truth, and in that knowledge all other ignorance will disappear. That is how we reach there. It will be a wrong thing to sit down and say, when you are not even put effort, when you are not even deserving of that grace, to simply demand that grace that I should have self-realization. It's like asking the teacher, I am such a good student of yours, you are very fond of me. After all, you are my father also, apart from being a teacher. Why don't you just pass me and I will have the certificate? But that does not mean you will have the knowledge. Even if you get that one self-realization one time, next day if you cannot sustain it, you will be back to your rasobi rasavarjasya, that same old state. That is what happens. Many of these great rishis also fall. Yogo hi prabhavapyayo, it is said. All these yogas will help you experience that state one moment, and then you can even come down. So this permanent change happens only with constant sadhana. There is no shortcut in spirituality. There is no lazy way. It's hard work. It's sincere efforts. But with the grace of Guru, the path becomes easier. Wherever there is a difficulty, where there is a pothole, where there are difficult terrain, Guru is there to guide us and make our journey easier. But we should be ready to put efforts. Without efforts, you cannot attain God also. Nothing in this world you can attain without efforts. How can you attain the highest param without efforts? So put efforts, don't find easy ways. And with good company, it begins with good company. Keep good company of people who are all sadhakas, who all want to achieve that. So with each other's help, you will be able to undertake that journey. And patience is very much, this is na prashantasya datavyam. It should not be given to anybody who does not have the peace and patience. That was also, Kathopanishad says, that is also important to attain self-realization. So what comes first? Efforts come first. That is the best way to start. And realization will come eventually. And once the realization comes, it becomes effortless existence. No fights with senses, sense cravings, mind, and all these things. That will automatically happen then. But till then, you have to put efforts.
Swami, if buddhi is the one which discriminates, then should we follow the buddhi or the heart? And how do we differentiate between the emotional heart and the spiritual heart? And is there a difference?
Yeah, these are all terminologies, but you might know a little bit about what mind is, what heart is, in the sense we have this body with 5 senses, then we have this mind which has 4 parts: manas, buddhi, chitta, and ahankara. Manas is all the bundle of thoughts, sankalpa, vikalpa, all that which we think, all the choices we make, everything that is ever thought is there, which is called manas. Buddhi is the analytical ability in us, which can discriminate between thought. There is a good thought or bad thought, positive thought, negative thought, happy thought, sad thought. Mind is not capable of that. Buddhi is the faculty of the mind which can distinguish and discriminate. Then we have chitta. Chitta is basically the memory bank. It remembers everything that we have ever done, even from past lives. It's just that goes into our subconscious, so we don't remember. But all that we can remember is a part of our chitta. It provides buddhi the material to go back and think about how the experience was last time when such a thought was undertaken or such an action was undertaken. It will refer to that. Like last time I spoke in the class, out of turn, that chalk landed on my head. So I know that this time I cannot do this. So that remembrance, that memory of the chalk on your head, and that irritation on your forehead is in chitta. Buddhi, next time you are talking out of turn, tells, hey, careful. Last time this you did and you got this result. So it remembers, and buddhi, this is the buddhi discrimination, the intelligence part. Intelligence depends on the chitta, that is the memory, in order to make any judgment or any decision. It is not automatic for it. It always refers to its past experiences of certain things or similar experiences, like you put your finger in the fire. Last time it was just a candle. This time maybe it is something else, maybe a lamp. But you know fire is the same, so you remember that thing. And based on that you analyze and come back and take a decision. That is intellectual way of deciding. What is heart part you are talking about? It is the consciousness within. It is what is called as intuition. It is not dependent on your memories or experiences of the past. It is not dependent on the stimulus or the inputs of the present. It simply knows because it is connected to that greater divine wisdom. And that reveals itself in a flash. It doesn't take time to reveal itself. And it will never change. When it comes, it just comes. It does not need any help. Whereas intelligence or buddhi needs help. This thing, what you call as heart intelligence or heart emotional intelligence, in a way it says like that, but intuition is the higher intelligence. Intuition is divine whispers, I say. It whispers, it doesn't scream in your ears. It whispers within somewhere and you know this is what is right. And how do you know this is an intuition and not your intelligence? Because this is beyond all the knowledge, understanding, experience that you ever had. It is not dependent on the memory that you ever had of things and experiences. It's coming from elsewhere. You will know it only when you have it. It looks very similar to instinct sometimes. Instinct is like, instinctively you do something. You see a dog and instinctively run without discriminating. But no, in that fraction of a second, all the discrimination has happened. This is a dog, this bites, and all that stuff. I have to run. And though it may be very short, that span of decision making, but it looks like instinctive because continuous habitual decisions are all instinctive. They become instinctive. Every time you get angry, it becomes an instinct to get angry. So this concept is called samskara vritti chakra is there in our concept. How instincts form. You bring past experiences, put it into habits. These habits cement those experiences, make them stronger, and that becomes your guiding thought next time. So it is like one leads to the other. So instincts look very similar to intuition, but the only thing is with instincts is that it is dependent again on the past experience or habits and not coming from elsewhere. So intuitive thoughts is what is known as the higher intelligence, and this is what Kathopanishad said, Yachet Vang Manasi Prajna Tadyachet Jnana Atmani Mahatini Yachet Tadyachet Shanta Atmani. The wise one takes all the senses and all the mind and puts it into buddhi, means starts discriminating before acting, before thinking. But this buddhi is individual buddhi. It only thinks about his or her welfare. Then it says, take it and put it into the higher buddhi, a collective buddhi, which thinks about everybody's welfare, and then further elevate it to the divine buddhi, the divine intelligence, which is there in all, which thinks of the welfare of everyone and doesn't make any mistake. So intuition is the higher intelligence, which does not need any help. It comes on its own, but it comes to only those who are willing to listen and willing to follow. Even if it is inconvenient, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's not the most favorable thing and the pleasant thing to do, those who are still willing to surrender to that higher divine will, for them only this intuitive intelligence comes. For all others, this regular buddhi intelligence only is there.
Swami, this is a question on family dharma and social dharma. If family dharma intervenes in one's practice of seva, what should one do? Should the person prioritize family dharma and contribute within the constraints of their situation? Or should they sacrifice family dharma for a higher cause? Would the answer be different for men and women?
All of us have different types of dharmas that we have to follow. Ultimately, it all relates to swadharma only. But right now, when you are a teacher in the classroom, your dharma is to teach. Even if your own son is sitting in the classroom, you cannot do your family dharma and favor him. You have to go by your swadharma at that point, which is you are a teacher, you must teach right, and only when he writes the answers or does well do you give marks equally without any discrimination. So there is no conflict. You have to see which position you are in at that point in time. For a housewife or homemaker, let us say she wants to go out and do a lot of seva, but also there are responsibilities at home like raising the children, cleaning the house, looking after the welfare of everybody. So is it that she has to sacrifice all this to do social good? No. She has to think at this point of time, this is my responsibility, my children are small and they depend on me, or whatever the household depends on me. And unless I raise my children right, I will be doing a disservice to the society tomorrow by giving bad citizens to the society. So in a way, my family dharma is not in conflict with my societal dharma. At this point of time, this is the best way I can serve the society, by raising the children well. Now, beyond that, if there is a possibility of time and resources or whatever is available, which is not needed for the survival or taking care of your family, that can be utilized, that time can be utilized to serve the society at large. But even while you are doing your family dharma, always be mindful that this family dharma is only or supposed to lead only to better society, better societal dharma. It's not for my selfish sake that I want to follow my family dharma. It's only for the selfless sake of raising the family well and bringing good values to children, looking after a hardworking husband or whatever be the case. That is why I am doing this, so that through that society is getting better. Does it apply to man? It applies to everybody, man, woman, child, elders, younger people, everybody it applies to. As long as it is your swadharma, at that point, time and situation, if you are following that, you are right. There is nothing wrong, and you can't say that I did not do enough for the society because I was looking after my family. Provided you are looking after your family only from one and the only perspective or desire that my family should be of good use to the society. I should raise my children well, I should do everything right so that I am an ideal family, and that will lead to ideal society. So nothing for your own personal sake. That should help you to decide what you need to do now and what you can do later.
Swami, Arjuna had Krishna to share his feelings and clarify his doubts. What about the present generation, which don't have anyone to guide them, often taking to extreme paths of depression and suicide? What should they do?
This is the situation that we have all landed ourselves in because of continuously neglecting our scriptures, our thought process which comes from our scriptural truths, by not giving respect to the right kind of gurus and giving them whatever is necessary for them to help the society. So this is the situation that we have landed ourselves in. What is the way to reverse this or change the trend? What I am doing right now, teaching the scriptures to all of you. Some of you or most of you will become teachers of these truths. Through you, your students and the people who come across or get in touch with you, they will be influenced, and someday this ripple effect will reach the corners of the world. That is the best solution that is there at this point in time. Unfortunately, our parents should have first looked after the things at home, but parents themselves were not trained well in good education systems. The elders could not advise because nuclear families did not allow elders to stay who had more lives experience to guide the younger generation. And the third aspect was the schooling system, the education system, which was supposed to at least fill in or step up and fill the gap of culture and whatever values which parents or elders could not provide. But even schooling system and education became so dry and so far away from the original value systems that even that does not provide. Now the only people who provide help to these people are psychologists and psychotherapists. That they are growing in year after year. Like Chikbalapur itself has, I don't know how many, you have some data, how many psychology practitioners are there? 12 clinics are there in Chikbalapur alone. So for this generation, all I can say that right now, please approach a psychologist or psychotherapist before you end up in deciding something so wrong. But the right solution for everybody is we need more jnanis in the society, more people who are wise and who can help the other people also in the society. I cannot change the mentality of parents all of a sudden. I cannot change the mentality of the governments and policymakers all of a sudden. Minimum I can do is to produce the right kind of teachers and give this input to you all so that someday down the line you all will influence and help thousands and thousands of more people in the society. So please continue to put efforts because this is the only way this problem can be solved. I feel pity, I feel compassion for those who do not have access to this and then they take to wrong paths. But right now there is nothing more we can do other than trying to create more people of this kind, wise people like you all, who will help those people in your own lifetimes. So that is the only way I can think of it.
Swami, why do we start feeling sleepy when we try to listen or read about spiritual concepts? How can we overcome negative thoughts like procrastination, laziness, and other excuses that discourage us from putting efforts on the spiritual path?
Imagine India-Pakistan World Cup final match. 3 balls to go, 6 runs to make. Who is sleepy? Who is lazy? Who is indifferent? Nobody. Depends on where your interests are. If you are interested in something, there is no way you can be lazy, sleepy, lethargic and whatever. So if your interest is not in spirituality and that is the reason why you are feeling sleepy, there could be other reasons also, like you ate a lot of food, you didn't sleep properly in the night, or the teacher is so boring, one monotonous, one way of teaching, there is no enthusiasm. All these also can add to spiritual lethargy and laziness. But largely it is to do with how interested you are. Look at Ekalavya, he wanted to learn archery, he did not get a teacher, he went about learning it by himself by putting a statue of the teacher. How much interest he had in learning archery. So also you have heard of so many other stories of cricketers. Even Pullela Gopichand was telling, Sindhu, the badminton player, the champion, PV Sindhu, her father used to bring her every morning without fail, driving whatever, I don't know, 2 hours by car from far away to the academy. And every day she would come and go. And father would wake up early with her just to drive her to the academy and take her back. Interest, because PV Sindhu was interested. And Gopichand also was interested in raising a good badminton player. So also in everything, wherever our interest lies, that's where we are attentive. If our interest is not there, we will not be attentive. So if you don't have interest in spirituality, because of which you are feeling lazy, then it's a big problem. You have to develop interest in it. Now how do you develop interest in something? When you were born, you were drinking milk. Afterwards, Annaprashnam had to be done. And during Annaprashna, the child, first time you put rice in the child's mouth, the normal reaction I have seen, at least the child spits the thing right out at that very moment. And this embarrassment I faced across the world. Not just here. They think in my hand some divine magic is there. If I put, the child will eat. Nothing. The child is beyond divine. Just spits it out. No interest in rice. Give milk, it will drink. But the mother has to change the habit of the child because she can't keep feeding milk all her life. So now the mother has to slowly change the habit of the child from drinking milk to other solid food, which is good for child's health. And that is how the child will grow properly, balanced nutrition. So mother makes efforts to change the habits and likes and interests of the child. So much so that at one point in time, the child becomes so interested in rice that if rice is not there in the meal, the child will be very unhappy. So we can develop interests. We can develop habits by putting some efforts. So best is satsanga. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischaltatvam, nischaltatve jivan muktihi. Develop satsanga. Try to be in the company of right kind of people. Sometimes you may not feel interested. No, that's a very boring company. I don't like anything over there. Yet, Uddared Atmanatmanam, you have to help yourself. You have to tell yourself that when mind feels lazy, disinterested, lethargic, indifferent, you have to tell the mind, this is not the right thing to do. I know it is a bitter medicine, but this is what is good for me at the end. I must go for satsanga. I must make efforts in a disciplined way to grow in spiritual path. And you will see that over a period of time, you slowly develop interest. So find the good company of people who are interested in spirituality and join that company somehow. And eventually that will rub on to you. You will also develop interest in spirituality. So many of you have come here. When you joined here, you did not have so many interests which you have developed over here because of people who suppose whole of the class plays football. Suddenly you also develop habit of playing football. You also develop liking for football. Because everybody plays football. There are countries like, Brazil and other places, everybody plays football. Because it is a normal thing to do. Even a newborn child who knows nothing about football, because of continuously watching people playing football, will develop the habit of playing football. Likewise, by continuously being in the company of good people, spiritual people, you will develop interest in spirituality. That's how you will overcome all this laziness, lethargy, procrastination, and everything else that comes with disinterest in spirituality.
Chapter 1 stresses on the importance of decision making. However, when the decision goes wrong consecutively, we are afraid to make any decisions. How can we overcome this fear?
Again, I said, ask yourself, what was the intention behind your decision? Was the intention to do good to everyone? Did you do everything in your right and your might to make sure that what you were deciding was good for all? If the intention was right, and even suppose the action fails or things don't happen as you thought it should be, don't worry, you are not guilty of anything wrong. Because you have tried your best, and whatever you could think at that point in time with pure intentions to do only good, you have taken a decision, it went wrong, or it did not do whatever good you thought it would, don't worry, it is not your fault. Overcome that feeling that it's because of you, and then go ahead and make the next decision also. But always check your intentions behind your decisions. I have to make very hard decisions as well. Sometimes you have to suspend students, sometimes we have to remove them for indiscipline. I know they also come from very difficult backgrounds. Sometimes I might have done injustice because, because 10 of them were in a group and 9 were like this, and the one also, papam, gets punished along with them. But that is how it works. And I cannot hold myself responsible. A judge cannot hold herself responsible. Or, so decisions we make, sometimes decisions may not be the way we thought it should be. But if our intentions were pure and clear, things will go right eventually, even if it's not going right in the beginning. So don't be afraid of making decisions or choices as long as you know you're doing it selflessly.
If karma in this world has consequences, where the world is nothing but just a drama, do we also incur karma in the dream state?
The whole world is a dream. That is how it is. When we say the whole world is a dream and whatever we think and do, does it have a karma and consequences? Of course it has, right? So if you are dreaming in a dream, does it have karma and consequences? All the dreams that we dream are nothing but reflections of our subconscious mind. So those dreams are nothing but reflections of what we deep down, what we feel and think. So that is karma. Every thought is a karma. Voluntarily you think or act, that is voluntary karma. Involuntarily you think or act, it is involuntary karma. But both will have reactions. In the sense, if in a dream you have thought or dreamt something, it means that thought exists in you somewhere. That is what has influenced your dream. So you should wake up and you should think, why did I dream like this? It means I had this desire, I had this thought in me. Is it a good thought, bad thought? Analyze it and make sure that you do not turn it into action. But simply you can't dream that you are killing somebody, and because of that you will suffer the whatever, the court of law is not going to punish you because you killed somebody in the dream, right? So the consequences don't happen like that. But an indication is coming through the dream that this is what your deepest desire is. And therefore it may turn into an action in the physical waking state, so beware. That way dreams can help. Otherwise you can't say dream has a karma which has an action, same as how physical thought or action or reaction happens. It doesn't happen that way. Okay, good. Please, I think we will restrain the questions to a few so that everybody closes on time. But curiosity is the way, jignasa is the way to learn. And asking questions is a good thing. I always say there are no stupid questions, there are only stupid answers. So don't worry if you get a question whether it is stupid or not, but make sure that it is not repetitive. It is not the same thing Monday you asked, again you want to ask on Tuesday because you forgot what you heard on Monday. Then I have to keep repeating the same thing. That should not happen. Once these questions have been asked, even if some part of it is not clear, talk to your Vedanta study group and get those things clear. And if still there is nothing clear, then you come back to me. But make sure that every day you ask the questions which are new, so that we don't keep repeating and wasting the time on the same topic. So please go, and this is only Shravanam. Next is Mananam. That is what you will do after dinner. And then what is next? Didhyasanam. Try to practice. How can you think from heart, as I say? How intuitively you can take decisions by surrendering to the divine will, by being unobstructing instrument of the divine, not letting your ego attachments, likes and dislikes come in the way. Try to practice and see how it feels, and try to understand what it means when it is intuition and not intelligence or instinct. So you have to practice this in your own life. Only then you will know whether it is working or not. Practice satsanga in your life. Then you will know whether you are developing spiritual interests or not. All these things have to be practiced, by which you will be able to experience and understand it. For today, this is good. I'm happy that you're learning. If there is any changes that are needed to be done, please talk to the coordinators and get it done, which will, if it is going to be more suitable. Blessings to all who are putting so much of effort, and this is the only way to help the world in the future. And I look forward to each one of you rising from the status of a disciple to the master at some point in time, so that you can pass on this Guru Parampara to many, many, many more people in the world who are waiting for this knowledge. With these words of blessings, I conclude.
जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपत्पार्धवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे मात पिता गुरुदैवमु मर्यन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मर्यन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्राशया ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी साई महादेव सद्गुरु साई महादेवा मंगल हारति अंदुको मंदर गिरिधारे ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण जय सद्गुरुदेवा ओम शांति 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 Jai